Hi, everybody. So we're gonna have a quick one today again, because a lot of the students in this class have not finished the weekend mini project, and I know it's been a really tough transition for you guys into the remote learning process. So can we please have that done by Tuesday night? Make sure that you've hit the submit button, and that way I can get you a grade back on that, and I'll count it as like a little quiz. All right, because I know that's a less percentage on your grade than the project grade. Um, but yeah, so please get those done. Those of you that have done them already, I looked through them. A lot of them look really good. Uh, some of you struggled to miss the point, but I'll give you guys feedback on that like as soon as possible so that you know who you are and you can adjust. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about gradients in Canvas. All right, so let's just jump right into that. Oopsie. I already had the gradient up there because I was just testing it out earlier. Okay, so we have this HTML. You'll see a bunch of stuff already given to you. The JavaScript, I gave you a bunch of stuff like I did in the weekend project, just so that we don't have to write out all this stuff every single time. And there's also some CSS here. You'll see I've added a new CSS class called red that changes the background color of an element to the color red. The reason why I did this is because I have explained in a past video that this canvas element is translucent. It's not white. The background is not white here. Everything is translucent. Lucent, I can't speak. The reason why you see white in this canvas is because your background by default is white. But if we go into the body of our HTML and give it the red class, that was defined for you in the index.css, you'll see that now this canvas is filled with the red color because that's the color of our background. So what I'd like to do is just start off by giving our canvas a white background so that no matter what the color of the rest of the site is, we have a white background here. And that's pretty simple to accomplish in our index.js file. I'm just going to set my fill style to white, which is FFFFF. I am then just going to very simply use a fill rectangle function, and I'm going to give it the starting position for that top left corner at 0, 0. Again, that's this top left corner right over here. And then I'm going to give it a width and height value that matches the size of my canvas. And you could understand that this is a 200 by 200 canvas and just put that in. But sometimes you might want to change that. Because, for example, if I said I want this to be a 200 by 200 rectangle and I run it, you know, this looks like a, perfectly good filled in background, everything's white. But if later on in a project I decide, you know what, I want my canvas to be bigger and I make this 300 by 300 and I run it, now it's not completely filled. Let me just undo those changes, Control Z, Control Z. All right, so then what can we do? Well, instead of putting these hard-coded values 200, 200, you could actually just put C1 dot width and C1 dot height. All right, because this element C1 has been received in the JavaScript, we actually also get all of the attribute values as well. So when we gave it these attributes width and height, if we just call those attributes, we'll get their values here. So now you'll see it's white all over. And if again I changed these values, I'll just change the width to 300 pixels. You'll see that the rectangle that fills it in will match those dimensions. All right, so let's go back to our 200 by 200. Beautiful. All right, so I wanted to fill in the rectangle there. Uh, Today I want to talk to you guys about linear gradients. Okay, and how you can use them to fill in your shapes or fill in your your rectangles, your arcs, your line drawings. And we're just going to do this very simply with a rectangle, and then Tomorrow we'll talk about radial gradients as well, and then I'll have another thing for you guys to draw. Here we go. All right, so first I want to set the fill style to red, and I want to create, well, not, this actually should work, but I do want to make sure that I'm using hex code consistently. All right, and now I want to fill a rectangle. Let's put it at 50-50. Let's make it 100 by 100. That should put it right in the center of our canvas. All right, so we have this rectangle in here, and you know what? Everything's too red on white. Let's make this like green or something, just so that it's more aesthetically pleasing at the moment. All right, so we have this green rectangle, right? And this is all one solid color, and that's all well and good. But if you guys recall when we were making our websites a little while ago, it was really cool being able to have radial and linear gradients in our backgrounds. It made things more colorful. It made things more uh, aesthetically pleasing. All right, and we can actually create these colors in Canvas as well. Allow me to show you. Instead of just setting a fill style like this, what we could do above this is create a new variable. I'm going to call this gradient1. All right, and I'm going to set this equal to ctx dot create linear gradient. All right, please make sure that this function, as all of your functions should be, is lower camel case. So this is the first word is all lowercase, but then the first letter of every subsequent word should have an uppercase letter. All right, and I'm going to give it the values 50, 50. You know what? Let's give it 50, 100, 150, 100. All right. And I'm just going to paste a little bit of notes in here for you. Please just get it in on your own, but I'll just read these off for the sake of speed. All right, this create linear gradient function, what it does, it takes two coordinates, 2 points that will draw a line. All right, so x1, y1, and x2, y2. And these are the lines on which we define our gradient. And so I'm starting this line at 50, 100, which is this point right here on the middle of the left of our rectangle, and it goes to 150, 100, which will be that right point over here. All right. I know this just because I very quickly did this, and I did this before, but also you can figure this out because if our rectangle starts at 50, 50, and it's 100 by 100, well, halfway down from 50, 50, you have to just add 50 to that, so that'll be 50, 100. And if you want to go all the way across, this will be 100 units in width, so that brings it to 150, 100. But you don't need to understand that perfectly right now. Anyway, so we created a linear gradient. All right, and it just creates it at those two coordinates. All right, we don't even have to have a, we do not even have to have a shape here for this gradient to be defined, by the way. It's just, you know, we just need the coordinates that it knows where on the canvas it should be referenced. All right, now in order to actually, add colors to this linear gradient, what we need to do is add color stops. So I'll just put another short thing of notes there for you. All right, we use the add color stop function on the gradient, where x is a position from 0 to 1, where 0 is the far left of the line and 1 is the far right, and the color. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say gradient1 dot add color stop. Now I want to start at the left of my line, so I'm going to put it at 0. And I want to go from, let's say, yellow. So that would be hashtag FFFF00. And then I want to go from yellow to, let's say, magenta. All right, so now I want to have this next color stop to be on the far right of our gradient. And that will be hashtag 00FFF. F. All right, from 0 to magenta. All right, that's all you need to do to create this gradient. All right. Now, in order to fill in a shape with that gradient, all you have to do is make sure that the fill style before you call fill or fill rect is set equal to that gradient. Now I'll run this and hope nothing goes wrong. Oh, is that cyan? That's cyan. I'm sorry. If I wanted to do magenta, I just need to put the zeros in there. I mean, this is fine too. This is a nice gradient. But here we go. So if we do that, it goes from yellow to magenta and then a nice, middle ground in between where the colors mix. And right there is a linear gradient. Now, linear gradients don't have to go across. That's just the way my line went, all right? I went from 50, 100 to 150, 100, all right? 50, 100 is right over here. 150, 100 is right over there. So it creates a straight line across to the left. Sorry, to the right. It looks like I'm pointing left in the thing. Yeah, it goes from left to right, or left to right. Yeah, left to right. Cool. The camera flips things. Sorry, guys. Um, all right, so we have that linear gradient that goes horizontally, but if we wanted to, we could make this a vertical uh, gradient. For example, if I change the points in my linear gradient, all right, all I want to do is I want to start from the middle of my square at the top. Well, if this starts at 50, 50, if I want to go to the middle, I just have to go 50 units more over in the x, so I'll make this 150. And then the next points, I'll just go 100 down, so this go 100. 150. And now you should see if I run this, the gradient will start with yellow on the top and go pink down. All right. If you wanted the yellow to be on the bottom and to go for the gradient to go up, you just flip the coordinates of these points or flip the number values that you have in your color stop. Uh, and again, it's linear. It doesn't have to be right or left, up or down. I can go from corner to corner. All right. So for example, the top left corner of this rectangle is at 50, 50. So I could put 50, 50 in there. And the bottom right corner, well, if this is a 100 by 100 rectangle, I just have to add 100 to each value. So this would be 150, 150. And if I do that, we have yellow in this top right corner and this magenta in the bottom right. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, well, Mr. Sands, the yellow is kind of muted in comparison to this magenta. What if I wanted more of that? Well, if you wanted more of that, since this starts in the left, what you could do is simply give it a higher value between 0 and 1. So what if I called this 0.2? If I did that and I run that, you'll see that there's now a greater amount of yellow in this color stop. In fact, what if I wanted it to fill up one entire half and then start the gradient? I can do it at 0.5 instead. And now this whole first half of that gradient is yellow, and then it starts to shift into magenta. All right. You might also be asking, Mr. Sands, what if I wanted to have multiple colors in my gradient, like we've done before on our websites? Absolutely possible. You just have to add more color stops. All right. Since I set this to 0.5, why don't I add a color stop before it? We'll call it gradient 1, add color stop. We'll set a new one at 0. And why don't we make this one cyan? So that would be that 00 FFFF that I had before. All right. And so now it goes from cyan on the left to this strong yellow in the middle to that magenta down there. All right. And now we have a really nice looking gradient. Uh, all right. I think this is a great place to stop off. We'll talk about radial gradients tomorrow. Please make sure that you have what I have here, a nice looking rectangle in the middle with a nice diagonal gradient. And we'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. All right, guys. Have a great day. See you later.